Hi friends, welcome to your YouTube channel. In this video, I am going to explain to you the top 8 mistakes which aspirants commit in their mains answer writing, which prevents them from scoring very high marks in the mains examination. If you want to know these mistakes so that you don't make those mistakes in your mains examination, please stick to the video till the end, because in the end I am going to give you a model answer, okay, which does not commit these 8 mistakes, okay, of a UPSC question, and there you are going to learn how to write a model answer in the examination hall. Okay, so let us begin the video. Hi, I am Santosh Pandey. I have qualified the prelims examination all 6 times with one of the highest marks, and also qualified mains examination 4 times. I went on to clear my state civil services examination. I was allotted the deputy collector rank. These are some of my scorecards. You might see I have scored very high marks in general studies paper. The reason was I was able to master the art of answer writing, and today I am going to express this experience which I had in the mains examination. Okay, so let us begin. So what are these 8 mistakes which you should avoid in the answer writing in the UPSC? The first mistake is that aspirants fail to understand the demand of the question. Understanding the demand of the question is of paramount importance if you want to get very high marks in the mains answer writing. Okay, so let us try to see what is meaning of the demand of the question from a UPSC question of last year's GS paper 2. Let us read this question. Okay, though the Human Rights Commission have contributed immensely to the protection of human rights in India, yet they have failed to assert themselves against the mighty and powerful. Analyzing the structural and practical limitations suggest remedial measures. This means what? What is the demand of the question? The demand of the question is what? The structural limitation of NHRC and the practical limitation of NHRC. We have to analyze, we have to break these structural limitations and the practical limitations, and then in the end you have to suggest some remedial measures for these structural limitations and for these practical limitations. But what students will do? Many students who end up in the average marks, what they will do? Rather than writing about the structural and practical limitations, they will start discussing the mandate of NHRC. They will start discussing the functioning of NHRC, and thus they will waste a lot of content, and they will by failing to understand the demand of the question. Okay, let us come to the second. Here one more point is very important, to understand the directives given in the questions. Here you see the directive is analyzing. You have to analyze it. Sometimes discussion must be there, sometimes comment might be asked. So you must be very careful of these directives also, which are there at the end of the question. Okay, let us now go and see what is the second mistake. The second mistake is that filling the answer with irrelevant material. That mistake flows from the first mistake. Once you have failed to understand the demand of the questions, obviously the content what you will write will be irrelevant. So it happens, many aspirants say, sir, I filled entire pages, the 3 pages, 2 pages which are allotted, I filled the entire pages, but still I got very poor marks in the UPSC mains examination. What is the reason? The reason is that they fill irrelevant material. See, we want to write what they want from you, what they expect from you. You see, what you want to say, okay, what you want to write, and what they are interested in. So this is the place where you are going to get marks. More and more this circle will increase, okay, you will get more and more marks. Okay, so you have to write what they are expecting. And how do you know what they are expecting? By understanding the demand of the question, which was the first mistake. Okay, let us now come to the third mistake. Delaying gratification. What do you mean by delaying gratification? Most of the aspirants, what mistake they do? They write a very big introduction. And the crux of the answer, okay, they write at the end of the answer, the crux which is being asked. For example, let me just again go back to the question which was asked in the UPSC. Here the crux of the question was what? The crux was structural and practical limitations of NHRC. That was the crux. So introduction on NHRC must be only 2-3 lines. Okay, but many students, what they will do? They will write one paragraph, 10-15 lines of NHRC only, and they will delay coming to the main crux of the question, which is structural and practical limitations. So that mistake which is done by many aspirants, please don't do that. Okay, do not delay the gratification of the examiner who is correcting your paper. Directly come to the point. Don't beat around the bush. If the question is asking structural problems, practical problems, please come. Please answer the structural problems. Please answer the practical problems. Do not go and beating around the bush about NHRC. No, that is a mistake which many candidates do. See, in life, we want immediate gratification. We want immediately to see, okay, this candidate knows the question or not. If you are writing a very big introduction, okay, if you are writing a very big introduction, what you will do? You will not come to the point. Okay, so come to the point, directly come to the point. Okay, next, elaboration. That is a virus. You know, elaboration is a virus among the students. Many students, what mistake they commit? They know only 2 points and they keep on elaborating the same. You see, it's the balloon, it's a gas. You are not going to get marks for gas. You are going to get marks for substance. You need to write substance. This means what? Okay, do not elaborate 1 point more than 2-3 lines. 1 point, 1 line elaboration or 2 line elaboration with one example. That's it. Never ever elaborate more 1 or 2 points. No. Try to write more number of points. Okay, try to write more number of points. Elaborate less, more number of points. In UPSC, I must tell you from my experience, what you need is width. You don't need very depth. Okay, you need to write more number of points, not to explain every point. Okay, this is very important. Okay, next mistake what candidates do is not dividing the answer. You have to divide the answer into various parts. Okay, for example, you see this question, the same NHRC question. Okay, you have to divide the answer in parts. For example, what will be the different parts? First, in intro, you will write about NHRC, introduction, what was the beginning of NHRC, what is the mandate of NHRC in 1 or 2 lines, and then you will write structural limitation, break, then you will write practical limitation, and then you write suggestions for structural limitations and suggestion for practical limitations. You see, this is the breaking of the answer. Okay, you see how many parts are there? Introduction, 1 part, structural limitation, 1 part, practical limitation, 1 part, suggestion for structural limitation, 1 part, suggestion for practical limitation, 1 part, and 1 or 2 line conclusion. And 1 and 2 line conclusion. You see how many parts I have broken the same question. How many parts I have broken the same question, and I am going to show you through a model answer on this question. I have written a model answer for you to just illustrate how to write a model answer where you do not commit these mistakes. So dividing the answer is a must. People who try to write big paragraphs, okay, they fail to get very high marks because you are complicating your answers. The examiner has to now search for answers. If you divide your answer as per the demand of the question, the examiner does not need to search. Okay, the lesser the examiner gives effort, the more the marks you will get. The more you are forcing the examiner to put effort in searching the answer, the less marks you are going to get. This is as simple as that. Okay, let us come to the next mistake. The next mistake is not writing points. Okay, always make a point to write in points. I must tell you my own experience. You know, in public administration, in my second and third attempt, I got very poor marks. The reason was I was trying to write in paragraphs. But in my 5th attempt, in public administration, I got in paper 2, I got 150 marks. Which is like more than 50%, okay, around 60% marks I got. The reason was I wrote in points, only in points. Every question I wrote in points. And I wrote more number of points. Every answer I wrote 10, 15 points. Everything I wrote in points. And I was awarded handsomely, okay. So, writing in points is a key to success in the mains examination, particularly in the GS subject, okay. Always make a habit of writing in points. Because when you write in points, okay, the examiner can easily award you marks. You can show diversity of your opinions or the diversity of the points also. But if you write in paragraph, it is very difficult to show that your width is more. Okay, I am telling you again and again. In examination, what is needed is width. Okay, so write in points and secure marks. For every point, there is 1 mark awarded. Generally, for every point, 1 mark is awarded. Okay. The second last mistake is not substantiating your answers or arguments with facts, with examples, with case studies. Okay, every point, okay, if you substantiate with facts, every point if you substantiate with data, with examples, you are going to get very high marks. Last year there was a question that was the recovery in the economy V-shaped or not. Okay, So how can you write? Just by writing yes, the recovery was V-shaped or recovery was K-shaped, you are going to get marks. No, you have to substantiate with points. You have to substantiate with facts. You have to substantiate with data. If you don't write data in this question, just the question was the economic recovery V-shaped or not? Okay, if you don't substantiate that, how will you get marks? Or is the Indian growth jobless growth? How can you write without data? Can you write this answer without data? No. Substantiation using data example is a must. Here you can use the daily factly which I give in the Telegram channel. These are going to help you to substantiate your arguments inside the exam hall. The next and the last but not the least is conclusion. Many aspirants, what they do, they rush in the end of the answer, okay, and they don't write a conclusion. See, if you do not write conclusion at the end of the answer, you are missing 1 marks. 10% of the marks. Suppose it's a 10 mark question, you are losing 1 marks. If it is a 15 marks question, you are losing 1.5 marks. Straight away you are losing it. Okay, so at least write 1 marks in the one or 2 line conclusion in the end. Always weak conclusion, less marks. It is as simple as that. Weak conclusion means less marks. So what should be the conclusion? Generally conclusion should be forward looking. Conclusion should be forward looking. So I will just give you one diagram. See, the answer should be like this. This is introduction. Introduction should be what? As close to the topic. Introduction should be as close to the topic. So this is the topic. So it should be as close to the topic. Body should be in parts. You see how many parts? Body should be in parts. And conclusion should be always in broader. Conclusion should be always broader. It should connect with some broader ideas. Okay. Now I will take one question of the UPSC and I will try to write a model answer. How to write a model answer using this 8 points. Using these 8 points, how not to commit these 8 mistakes. Okay. So let us read this question again. So though NHRC have contributed immensely for the protection of human rights in India, yet it has failed to assert against the powerful and mighty, analyze their structural and practical limitation and suggest remedial measures. Okay. So in the introduction, you will have to talk about little bit about the history of NHRC. In 3-4 lines, you can write history of NHRC, that this NHRC was created because of national factors and international factors. National factors during the 1990s, what happened? Okay, there were some criticisms against India's policy in Jammu and Kashmir or India's policy in the northeast. There were some allegations of human rights abuses. That was one factor, and there was international pressure also. Okay, so India enacted this law in the 1993 Human Rights Act 1993, and in 1 or 2 lines you will discuss the mandate. You will discuss the mandate of NHRC, which is basically to protect the human rights, okay, of the citizens of the country. Okay, but in the introduction, when you are concluding the introduction, you will write, but there are some limitations. There are some limitations, and these limitations are structural limitations. So you will write structural limitation. You see structural limitation. And under that you give a heading structural limitation, and under that heading you will write about structure. You will write about all the structural limitations. You see, structural limitations are largely related to the act, the structure of the NHRC, the act of the NHRC. So anything limitation which is coming from the act is called structural limitation. So what are the structural limitations of NHRC's working? First is what? It's a recommendatory body. It is a recommendatory body. Its recommendations are not binding on the government. First. Second, outright rejection. Sometimes there is outright rejection of the complaints. Third, partial compliance. Many times, whatever recommendation NHRC is giving, there is partial compliance of that recommendation. Next, delayed compliance. Sometimes the compliance is very delayed. Okay. Then composition criteria. See, mostly NHRC members are either the judge of Supreme Court or they are bureaucrats. Okay. So if you see, the composition is such that 2 experts of human rights need to be put in the NHRC, but the problem is that government is appointing all the ex-bureaucrats in that. Okay, rather than ex-bureaucrats, we should appoint what? Human rights activists, genuine human rights activists. But right now it is filled with bureaucrats along with the judge. Okay, so we need some experts also. Okay, so composition time bar. Okay, only 1 year bar is there. After 1 year, no complaint can be basically given to NHRC, that is again a structural limitation. And there is bar on armed forces violation, that is again a bar. Okay, so if there is an human right excess by the armed forces, then NHRC cannot do anything. And last point, if you see structural composition, limitation, now you see practical limitation. What are the practical limitation? Again, I have broken down practical limitation into various points. You see, first is what? Non-filling of vacancies. Practical means functioning. In functioning, what are the problems faced by NHRC? So vacancies are very high, both in the National Human Rights Commission and at the state level. Okay, next, fund is not available. Without fund, we all know that no organization can work. Next, the number of complaints are too many. And last is the bureaucratic style of functioning. Bureaucratic, okay, it is working like a bureaucratic organization, and we all know the features of bureaucratic organization, that it is time taking. Okay, it is red tapeism is there. Okay, so that is the practical limitation. So structural limitation, you see how we have written structural limitation. Beautifully, you see structural limitations, we have given one heading, structural limitation, and under structural limitations we have given various points, and we have explained one line we have explained. Okay, you see sub points, then one line, then you see one line, then you see one line, then you see one line. So you see how many points we have. Okay, then you see practical limitations, how we have written practical limitations, and in the end we have to write suggested proposals. Okay, because it says you need to propose some suggestions. Okay, so what we need to do? We need to give more teeth to the NHRC. Okay, then we need to include armed forces in their ambit. Then we have to make the composition of NHRC more inclusive. We have to bring these human rights activists in the NHRC membership, and then we have to bring independent recruitment of the staff. See, mostly right now what happens, most of the staff are coming from deputation and they go back to their parent organization. So most of the IPS officers are coming and they go back to their state government police force. So what will happen? Okay, obviously they will not be effective. Why? Because they have to go back to their own parent organization, so there will be conflict of interest, because most of the cases in NHRC is of custodial death, custodial violence. Okay, and separate the investigation police related complaints. Okay, separate investigation for police related complaints. So these are the suggestions, and then you will give one line conclusion, one line way forward, you will give one line conclusion. All these reforms must be implemented. Civil society, media, everyone has to play a role in the implementation of these reforms, because government is reluctant in basically implementing these reforms. You see how beautifully we have written it. So you see why we have not committed the mistakes generally what candidates do. So what generally candidates do? First of all, they don't understand the demand of the questions. What was the demand of the question? The demand of the question was structural and practical limitation. Okay, that was the demand of the question. So you see, just after we write an introduction, brief introduction we write, where we are talking about this mighty and powerful. We are explaining what is this mighty and powerful. This is basically the armed forces, the police, okay, the government, mighty, and this against preventing any kind of abuses by them on the citizens. We brought this NHRC, that we have explained in the introduction. Just brief introduction I have given, and one line I have given the mandate of also NHRC, which is basically to look into the complaints of human rights abuses and to increase the awareness of human rights. That is the introduction I have given, and in the introduction only I have given it is debatable because there are many structural and practical limitations that NHRC is effective. It is debatable. Why? In the here only I have given there is structural limitation and there is practical limitation, and then I give a subheading. You see, structural limitation. I give a subheading, structural limitations. First I explain what do I mean by structural limitation. I explain in one line, anything related to act, any limitation which comes from the act is called structural limitation, and I give sub points and I explain with one line. You see, this is called the sub point. This is sub point, recommendations only. It is a recommendatory body only, and I explain what do I mean by that. Again, what is the basically the sub point and explain. So you see how many points. So how marks you will be awarded. So here 1 marks will be awarded for introduction. I have written an introduction. Then you see 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 5, 6, 7. So 7 marks for structural. Then you see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 marks for procedural. Then you see suggestion 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 marks for reforms. And you see conclusion 1 marks. You see. So introduction 1 marks. Structural problems 7 marks. 5 marks for procedural practicals. And then 5 marks for suggestion. And then 1 marks for conclusion. You see. 1 plus 7 8 plus 5 13 plus 5 18 plus 1 19. You have written 19 points and it is a 15 marks question only. So obviously you have written more points than what they are expecting. So you will get 14 out of 15. You will get 14 out of 15. So write like this, you will get 14 out of 15. This is the way you top the exam. If you use this technique, you are going to top the exam. So don't make this mistake, the 8 mistakes, and follow the model answer which I have explained to you. If you like this discussion, please hit the like button and please let me know what kind of more videos you want. Do you want a daily answer writing video? I'm going to come out with daily answer writing videos also if you want. Okay, so let me know exactly, okay, the discussion was useful or not. I look into each and every comment which you give because this is your channel. Just remember, this is your channel. Please subscribe it. Please share with your friends. Okay, here the thing is that I want to share my experience, okay, because I have a lot of experience in this examination and I think it is my duty, okay, to tell you, because most of the candidates what I see, they get misguided, okay, they get misguided because there are so much resources available online that, and they waste a lot of time. Particularly in answer writing, I see many students, what they do, they are just writing answers on some platforms and they are they are wasting a lot of time because they don't know exactly what is the structure, what is the demand of the UPSC answer writing. So this was made in that context only. Thank you, bye, take care.